Bailey Johnson, we'll start with you. Go ahead.
Hey, Nikki, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Pretty good. You obviously all had 3 days between games for the first time all season. What was the approach? How did it go?
I mean, the first approach was to give them some time off. So we took Sunday off. I thought we had a short but kind of competitive practice on Monday. Kind of in a little way started to prepare for Chicago, but mainly kind of wanted them to compete and get in transition a little bit. And then yesterday was kind of more of a let's dial in and talk about Chicago and defend some of the stuff they do and dial into game plan stuff. So hopefully we're ready.
Tyler Norman, go ahead.
Hi, Coach. What are your thoughts on Benijah's improvement over the season?
I mean, it's kind of funny. Like, it's not even what I've seen from her this season. It's more so an improvement from what I thought she was to like who she is, because she's kind of been a consistent force from the beginning. What I'll tell you as the season has gone along is that she surprised people at the beginning of the season. But as the season's gone along, she's drawn tougher and tougher defensive assignments in terms of who's guarding her. Game plans are predicated more on stopping her and making it difficult. And I think she's found a way to adjust. It's a whole lot different than being the fifth option on the floor than sometimes being one or two for us on the floor. So I think it's her consistency that has impressed me the most when you look at her really across the board, her field goal percentage, her 3-point percentage, her free throw percentage, how she rebounds it, how she shares it. She's really been a complete player. And on top of that, she's always going to draw the other team best player. So she'll get Quigley tonight.
Carolyn Peck, go ahead.
Hey, Nikki, the first time these two teams met, you didn't have Kennedy Carter. What kind of difference does having her presence on the floor to go along with Benijah and Courtney make?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look back at the film of that game, we gave them the game with bad turnovers, and a lot of that was they not having Kennedy. They pressured the heck out of Blake. They denied all over the court. I think that'll be more difficult for them to do if they want to get that stretched out. That means the tunnel will be pretty open for Kennedy down the middle. So it may be a completely different game plan for them, even though it's one player, because Kennedy can put so much pressure on the D. And if you want to get up and pressure her really hard, she's going to get downhill on you. And that's when she's at her best, and she's at her best for us. So, I think that's one of the adjustments. Obviously, they had Azare at the time and Diamond. And while neither had huge games for them, I think their depth is in a different place than it was when we played them the first time. So, we've got to put the kind of be good in transition and really be aggressive in transition. Look for our early offense, really get them moving around, because I do think, more recently we have a little more depth.
And do you think turnovers will be a key element in deciding this game?
Yeah, I mean, I think they certainly thrive with the ball in Sloot's hands, and are really good when they can get out in transition. So, we have admittedly not been good in transition defense. We were pretty horrific against Vegas in transition D, and a lot of those are either turnovers, or in some ways, sometimes when you take a bad shot, it's like a turnover. You get a long rebound, people aren't in rebounding position, people aren't ready to rotate back. And so, we've just got to take good shots and take care of the basketball, and kind of get them having to execute in the half court. And they have great offensive players. This is a team that's hard to win defensive battles with. You gotta score against them. And they've been that way for probably 5 years. I mean, Sloot and Allie make them so good offensively that you got to be able to score with them. And so we'll have to kind of keep up with them on the offensive side.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And Tyler Norman, we'll go back to you for the last question.
Hi, Coach, again. Going back to Benijah, what was your thought process on changing her role on the team to be just as much as an offensive player as a defensive player?
I mean, we obviously, went into this season undermanned, not having Tiffany Hayes, not having Renee Montgomery. Courtney Williams being a late arrival and not having her in training camp. And so, Benijah just really showed herself. She showed herself before we got here. She showed herself in training camp, in our scrimmages, and early just proved that she was a go-to player. We were searching for how are we going to score? How are we going to get to 85 points? How are we going to compete at that end of the floor with the group that we had to start the season? And she just showed that she could score at all three levels. She makes the 3-point shot. She's got a really, really good rhythmic 1 to 2 dribble jumper, and she'll get all the way to the rim. I mean, I think her growth is going to come kind of in that straight line to the rim. She tends to always want to set up her move with a spin or things like that, as opposed to sometimes just using her strength and speed to go straight line down the lane line. So, it just happened organically, and I think the more consistent she was, the more her teammates trusted her, and the more all of a sudden, we were running first plays for her, and we were running plays on ATOs, and she just became a big part of our offensive package in terms of what we run and what's in our playbook.
All right. Thanks so much, Coach.